What's up, guys? How we doing? How we doing? Today, I want to talk about the Goodwins. Who are the Goodwins? Well, my family tree. This is the first time I've ever given you my last name. Probably shouldn't do it, but fuck it. Goodwin. That's my last name, and well, unless Persephone makes her husband take her last name, which she may very well do, she's gonna be a badass. I'm gonna be the last Goodwin, and it's just got me over here thinking about my family tree and all the good that our family has contributed to the world. So let's talk about that, shall we? My great grandparents. My great grandpa was a rapist. My great grandmother, for being the age, whatever. There were two old people that had old ideals, and my great grandfather was a rapist. My grandpa is a preacher, and he cut off ties with me because I told my cousin that she needed to be careful around his dad, whom is a rapist. And he disowned me for that and said it's better to forgive and forget. A preacher said that to me and got on to me for warning a 16-year-old at the time that, you should be careful around this guy. And that, I wouldn't. And whenever, he died, I wasn't exactly upset or dying to go to the funeral or anything. Get it? Dying to go to the funeral. Funny. So, my grandpa disowned me for that. Awesome. Not to mention, his new wife basically told him that he can't have contact with this side of the family anymore, which why the fuck would he? But that's his choice. My grandma, she tries. She does. And that's why we still have a relationship, because I see it. I see that she tries. But at the end of the day, she's a very narcissistic, not down-to-earth woman. I have never heard that woman say I'm wrong or admit fault for anything. We got into a 2-hour argument today over a test that she forgot to send me. Because instead of just saying, oh, I forgot to send it and sending it to me, no, we had to argue about it for 2 fucking hours just for her to end the argument with, I'm old and don't care. Awesome. You want to know how she reacted the first time I told her that I think I suffer from anxiety issues? Well, you should stop being anxious. Done. Did it. Thank you. I didn't think about it that way. I mean, that's the problem is, I just need to stop. My step grandfather, who is my grandmother's boyfriend, he's great. He watches my videos and bitches about them. Hope you're watching this one. And, he thinks that he is the definition of success, when in reality, he was a C-average kid that flunked out of school, went into the military, came back, had his ass wiped until he found his niche, and his parents basically lived until he was 50, and he chose a career over his own fucking daughter, so. Wonder where I would be if I had your support system, brother. I mean, he looks at me like a fuck up, and like I'm just going through life through handouts, and that I use my grandmother like a bank, when the reality is I've been put in situations that this Neanderthal would never fucking understand. And considering I was making straight A's and B's while snorting lines in high school, I wonder where I'd be if I had your support system. You went through life with training wheels on and still are not what I would call a success, because you don't even have a relationship with your own daughter. If I'm fucking 70 and my daughter hates me and I have money in the bank, please put a bullet in my head, because I think you got the definition of success a little bit backwards. I want to talk about fucking handouts. Your entire life is one. So yeah. And then you got my aunt, who, she steamrolls anybody that dares go against her. She's just as narcissistic as my grandmother and my mother. Wonder where it comes from. And you know what she told me when I was going through my divorce? Her big piece of advice? I need to just tell Persephone that her mother loves her and is unable to take care of her. Because if I tell her the truth, well, then the pain that she feels is on me. It's my responsibility. I literally, her words were, I have the power to manipulate the way that she thinks. So, if I tell her the truth, I am choosing to cause her pain. Yeah, it's my fault her mom's a piece of shit. That's one fucked up way of looking at it. But thank you for admitting that you do manipulate the way that your child thinks. That's why you had your kid going to Bible school by fucking 4. But whatever. Just a narcissistic asshole that wouldn't make it without the fucking dude she's married to, but whatever. And then you got my mother, who is a narcissistic drug addict that literally was awful to me my entire life. I've talked about her extensively. I don't think I need to here. And then you have my sperm donor, who's probably in jail somewhere. I don't know. Dude literally spent his life beating the shit out of women, being a creep to women. Hit me up when I was 18, tried manipulating me with his sob story, and then whenever that didn't work, he literally straight up said, I got a tattoo of your name across my chest, straight out of a fucking Eminem song. And whenever I told him to go fuck himself, he said, you're not going to talk to me that way. After, picture that. I want you to picture that. That you've abandoned your kid, you've beat the shit out of every woman that you've ever been with, questionably have been inappropriate to women too. Now you're sliding in your son's DMs that you've never talked to before at 18, trying to manipulate him, and when he tells you to go fuck yourself, you think you have the gall to say that you can't talk to me like that. I think that you're forgetting I'm not a woman, and I'm gonna talk to you however the fuck I want. How about that, bitch? Just a piece of shit. Just the worst of the worst. And I hope he knows it. I really do. Because whatever sob story he gives me, believe me, I know how abusive my mom was. All I know is I went through it. I went through abuse for years to make sure I got my kid. And he couldn't swallow his pride. The fact is, if he wanted to be in my life, he could have. He was just too hell-bent on being right and beating the shit out of my mom and putting her in her place to be there. He's a fucking coward. But what seems to go from generation to generation to generation is no accountability. Narcissism and inability to admit fault. And you know what? I'm fucking proud of myself. Whether I ever hear it from my mother or my grandparents or whatever, they can call me this fuck up all they want. Yeah, I ain't doing great financially. But I know that we all start from a different starting line. I'm not the best person in the world. In fact, far from it. I still got a lot to learn, a lot to improve on. You know, I mean, I talked in my trauma dumping video about how I'm trying to unlearn narcissistic traits and realized as a young adult, whenever I was like 18, that the narcissism that runs in my family and from my mother that I'm starting to get, and, you know, trying to unlearn those behaviors. And yeah, I'm proud of myself. I feel like I'm doing a decent job. Maybe I'm not financially successful, but we're gonna get there. I work too goddamn hard to not get there. And I'm fucking smart, and I know I can, so I know I will. I don't know when, but what I'm more concerned about is being a success in my daughter's eyes. Teaching her accountability, how to grow as a person, how to admit fault, how to not be a narcissistic piece of shit until you're 70. You know, how to not raise a kid to be just like you and then discard them because they're just like you. That should be the Goodwin slogan. Raise a kid to be just like you and then hate them for it. I'm proud of myself. You know, I don't have life figured out. I'm stressed the fuck out all the time, and I hope every day that I'm going to be enough for this little girl, because what scares the living shit out of me is that whenever she hits 18 or 20, I'm going to be all she has. And that sucks. It's amazing that I just came from that. Just narcissistic assholes that care more about money than their own kids, that care more about being right than their own kids, that care more about their politics or their religion than their own kids. And that I realized I was kind of the same way at a young age and tried unlearning that. And here I am, hoping to do some good in the world. But I'm glad the Goodwin name's coming to an end. I don't think this is a family tree worth remembering. We haven't really done a lot of good to help anybody. And I just hope I'm enough for Persephone. The little girl deserves the world, and I wish I could give her better. I'm sorry, it hasn't been a good week. And it just sucks I have no support system. It sucks that I talk to this screen wishing that I could talk to my own family about this. But I talk to you guys like you're my family, because in reality, you guys have been more supportive in 1 year than my entire family has been in my entire life. They think this YouTube thing is a joke, when really it's an outlet for my anger. It's an outlet for me to be sober. It's an outlet that I got put in this position, and I'm trying to figure out life and how to be a better person and how to be successful and offer wisdom, offer comfort, help people feel like they're not alone, and let you tag along this journey with me while I be brutally honest about shit. And you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. Because if my family wasn't the way they were, my life didn't go the way that it did, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, that I need to be for her. As she falls. It's all gonna be alright.